The Celtics claw back in the second half to eventually force overtime. They had multiple opportunities to close out the game, but came up short, losing in overtime by 1 point. Just brutal in the end. The series is tied up 2-2 heading back to Boston. Let's get into it right now on First to the Floor.
Who was going to be first to the floor here? And it was Marcus Smart, as he usually is.
Brown drives. That's not the first time we've seen a superstar in green and white sacrifice his body.
Welcome in to another episode of First to the Floor. Ben Vallis here. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing all right after watching Jaylen Brown double off of James Harden in the corner and conceding a wide open corner three, which won the game ultimately for Philadelphia. I'm joined by Jake Eisenberg and Wayne Spooney. Spooney, how you doing, sir?
You know, look, Jake and I were talking before we went live here. Like, my dumb brain is like, would have rather got beat by 10. But if you're like analyzing a series, the fact that Philly needed another 40 bomb from Harden just to barely squeak by the Celtics in overtime is a good thing. But like emotionally, I'm close to the breaking point.
Me too. Jake, how you doing, man? Welcome back.
Yep. You're muted, Jake.
Yeah, you're muted.
Hot start.
Oh man, I'm doing great. I had to burp, so I muted myself. So yeah, I feel fine. I was feeling fine, and then I started thinking about the game again. So that I was feeling less fine. And now I'm talking about the game. So I'm continuing to feel not fine. But we're here for everybody, and we're gonna get through this, and it's fine. And it's only 2-2. And when we did the most recent podcast, me and Spoonie were like, they're probably coming back 2-2. So like, really, this is. And if I told you that they lost one in overtime beforehand and we put another 46 minutes on Joel Embiid, you'd be like, that's going to hurt. I know that's going to hurt, but it's technically good. Still good.
Like you would have expected going into the series for Philly to win one of those two first games on their court, right? One of game 3 and game 4. So it still makes game 1, that loss, the real stinger in terms of how this series is playing out so far. But look, this is meant to be therapeutic. Whenever we have these brutal losses, when we finally scrape ourselves off the floor and get into these podcasts, I usually walk away feeling better for it. So let's get right into it and just start with a quick around the room on main takeaways from the game. Spoonie, what was the key takeaway from this one for you?
Okay. So I think this is a tale of, I mean, obviously you said it in the open is that Jaylen Brown helping off James Harden is one of the most confounding decisions I've ever witnessed in a basketball game. That right up there with Brogdon literally throwing it to Maxey to lose us that game. So two pretty brutal losses, but, tale of two halves for me. I thought Joe made some great adjustments to the offense in the second half to get Tatum going, where we were doing a lot of the pin down stuff and Philly was just switching everything. And it was taking us forever to get Tatum the ball or get anybody the ball. And then we were on the run and they were just funneling us right to Embiid. So in the second half, I thought he kind of simplified the offense and you just saw Tatum just like catch the ball in the high post against any of their defenders and ISO and attack. And if he could get to the rim, he went up for the layup. If he couldn't, he just kicked it because we just had Al camped in the corner the whole half, basically, or camped up high the whole half. So thought that was a great adjustment. And Tatum played one of the best halves of basketball I've ever seen him right after playing one of the worst halves of basketball I've ever seen. So you got to think, Brian in the chat here says like he needs to bring that energy to game 5. If he does, we will blow them out.
Jake?
Yeah, it's like where do we can draft or rank the most painful moments from the overtime and the fourth quarter, and the Jaylen help is in a tier of its own, in my opinion. We can go into the timeout stuff, but that we might not win the game in double overtime, but like I've been saying it the whole series, and why even though we lost today, it's still good. We put 46 minutes on Joel Embiid, and he was clearly wearing down in the second half and overtime. Another overtime one, I think that the longer, like if we get to triple overtime, the longer the game goes, the more that favors the Celtics, just because we have so much more, athleticism and energy and depth. You have to play for overtime. And he's already said that it was a mistake, which doesn't help us, obviously. which is why people being like Joe Mazzulla should be accountable for the timeout. Who fucking cares? Who's accountable for anything? Like, just you need to do it. Who cares if Joe's lying? We don't know if Joe's lying. It's whether or not he's happy with how things went down the stretch, but we know for a fact that it was not the plan to double off Harden in the corner. That being said, Harden doesn't make catch and shoot corner three. He doesn't take and make these shots. So like this is three game winning shots out of 4 losses in the playoffs so far. Trae Young logo, Harden logo with a contest, and then like even though Jalen helped, he was a fingernail away from closing out in time.
Yeah,
but that's
still. You just can't help. Like he was cooking. Harden was cooking in this game.
Yeah.
And of all the people to help off, or to even help off at all, given how well Horford had been defending Joel Embiid in the fourth quarter up until that point, and the fact that, I think Spoonie and Jakey both mentioned it, like give up 2, sure, before giving up 3 and allowing them the go-ahead bucket there. But there's been a lot of conjecture online about, how much or to what extent Joe Mazzulla is to blame for this one. So I guess we're honing in on the late game execution or lack thereof at this point, guys. There. And I kind of think it was on the players. I'm kind of going into bat for Joe here. Like, could he have coached this game better? Yes, absolutely. But how we get into our final set, that slowly, how we come down the court so slowly and get the ball into Tatum's hands, that lackadaisically, that late in the game, ultimately leading to Smart getting that made 3 off just a fraction of a second too late. If we're just going with more urgency at that point of the game, and like I've refused to believe that Joe is yelling from the sidelines, go slow. Like he's
probably yelling, go,
with a lot of urgency. And to finish up the game like that and to go that slowly and with that lack of urgency, I think really it's something that's been shooting these guys in the foot all year. A lack of urgency when it's really needed. That late in a critical playoff game, borderline unforgivable. So for me, it's on the players. It's not on Joe. That said, Spoonie, are there any legit criticisms of Joe? We've got to read out this question here because I think we've got our first ever paid comment on the live stream.
Super chat, what a legend!
Yeah, hell yeah!
Amazing.
Thank you, X3. You're the man, dude.
So, question for the panel: how many of the 15 free throws that Embiid got would you say were legitimate? I'd say they were mostly legitimate free throws. Like, is it?
I'd say half.
Okay.
I was gonna give him 10. Gonna give him 10. He had one on Horford where he just literally threw himself to the side and threw it up at the backboard. That was just like not a foul. And then there was one where he kind of created all the Jalen. It was right in the first quarter. Jalen was just like standing in the restricted area, and Embiid just like ran into him and threw it at the backboard again. And he got 2 there. And then I'm sure there's another 1 or 2 in there that was bullshit.
There you go. We'll call it the average there and say what, 10, 12 and a half.
Yeah.
Thank you for the donation there, X3. I'm not sure what happens to that money. Hopefully it'll go to charity or something. Probably goes to our overlords there at CLNS, unfortunately. Should we get back to the criticisms flying around about Joe Mazzulla, Spoonie? Like how what percentage of those criticisms do you think are legit?
Okay, first of all, I saw people saying he should have called a timeout and reminded the team to not help off of 3-point shooters. Well, you can't call a timeout when the other team has a ball, so that's 0% legitimate. But yeah, I'm with you. I like not calling a timeout there because if you call a timeout, Harden, Maxey are off the court now, and we attacked them, and it was a good play. Like it led to a wide open 3 that Smart made. It was just a matter of literally going a half a second too late. I mean, obviously you want to go 2 or 3 seconds quicker, but a timeout's not going to do that. And then you have to contend with getting the ball inbounds, and you probably have to inbound it into the backcourt anyway. So now you're in the same position, maybe with less time, and all their best defensive players are on the court. So, I like that decision. I've been defending that, not calling a timeout in those type of situations all season. I like doing it. I think it screws up the defense just as much as it, is damaging to the offense. I think it's advantage offense when you don't call a timeout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Michael Spitzer in the chat. The fact that Embiid's shot was an air ball, like this is not like that last stuff. Like that led to the Tucker and 1. It's like if he just hits the rim, then we get the rebound. There was so many like unlucky bounces like late and into the fourth quarter. I think Joe could have maybe like I think both things can be right here. One, don't call a timeout, but then you got to be quick. Like you can be like, okay, clearly this is not going well, and then hit the timeout. I think that is probably the answer to this solution. Super easy to say an hour and a half after the game has ended, obviously, because I thought they were getting amazing looks for all of the fourth quarter and overtime, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And they got another good look. Tatum could have gone for the floater, even at the end of overtime. Maybe that just like that fading shot to the left. Like I kind of, especially when he's cooking like that, I trust him to make that. It's just so easy to play these things in hindsight. But yeah.
That was a wide open look for Smart at the end of regulation as well. And he'd been hitting those threes all game. Smart's been great this entire series, really. That's a good look that had a high percentage chance within the vacuum of this game of going down. It was just unfortunate that it didn't end the game there. There's some good comments coming in from the chat here from John Zanis Pies saying, but down one, why waste the whole clock? If you shoot early, you get multiple shots at it, like potentially getting an offensive rebound or at least
100%
the free throw game. Yes, absolutely. On the flip side, in terms of arguing for calling a timeout there, you could have had Brogdon on the court instead of Smart or White. Brogdon, we're not going to get quite to individual performances just yet, but Brogdon was, I know he put up 19 points or whatever it was and hit some big shots. Kind of unreliable with the ball in this game. I just, as a fan watching, do not feel safe and secure when Brogdon has the ball right now. So I kind of was for going with Derek White instead of Malcolm Brogdon to close this game. What did you guys think about that point?
Yeah, Brogdon had another couple of questionable turnovers late in this game as well. He had that one fast break down the left side and he just got it stripped and that led the other way. They had to go fast. You have to extend the game. Even if you miss the shot, then you foul and then you force someone to make free throws and you get another shot. It was on everyone. The fact that there's obviously a group of people that want to yell at Joe Mazzulla.
Yes.
And this is the perfect chance for it. But to absolve the players of blame here is just ridiculous. It's basketball 101. You're down one, you take a quick shot because if you miss, you get a foul. It's just so obvious.
Or a rebound.
And they were killing them energy wise. Tatum was basically Robert Williams out there. And that's on the players. They have to know to go. And they had been going quick, it felt like, for so much of the game. And there was just a couple where that slow mentality bled into the game, and obviously that last possession was the top of the list.
It felt like you could feel the heart of the Sixers fans being ripped out for a good portion of the fourth quarter. They were coming back and you were like, we've got this. These guys are cooked. They can't stop us. Joe, there was a clip during the broadcast of Joe Mazzulla saying, we have another level defensively to go to. Let's go there now. And then they fucking did. And it was beautiful to watch. The only hope is, obviously that level of intensity wasn't there for the first 2.5 quarters of the game. Got to go back into game 5 with 110% intensity. I'm preaching to the choir here, but they have to start and end with that level of intensity.
So with that intensity, I thought Jalen picked up those 2 early fouls, and he's just been by far the best defender on Harden. And then because he was cooking on offense early, he had to change the way that he was playing. He had no choice, and that let Harden get comfortable. Those early fouls, and one of them was just so ticky-tack. And this is the 3rd game in a row now where a J has been in foul trouble. Obviously, Tatum in that 1-for-7 game in the blowout, and then last game Jalen was in foul trouble, and then it didn't lead to him having to come out a lot, but it just changed the way that he was able to play defensively. And the Sixers are 2-0 when Harden has 40-point games, and when Jalen's not able to get up into him, that's been the difference. You'd think someone else would be able to take that challenge, but it hasn't really. No one else has really been able to slow him down to the level that Jalen has.
Brogdon especially has been really bad on Harden. He's been great offensively for the most part. Yeah, I agree. He's been a little uneasy with the ball at times, but defensively, man, Harden has just been going at him. Him and Horford were out there and he was just getting Brogdon on him instead of Horford, and he just can't. It's Harden gets to that little mid-range fall away on Brogdon whenever he wants. And I think he went 7 of 8 from mid-range today, and he is not a mid-range player. That's just not his game at all. So Yeah, I wonder. I thought Derek, going back to kind of the original question, I thought Derek was great. I think he came in because Brogdon got his 5th foul, but I thought he did a lot of like really little things to help on defense. He was kind of, showing help on Embiid, then getting back to his main cover. So it's just like one small thing goes the other way, and we're celebrating being up 3-1, but that's the playoffs. That's just the playoffs, dude.
This is eerily similar to the Bucks series. Like, we're killing them in the wins, and we're just like a couple of bounces away from just winning the series, going away. And unfortunately, they all count for one win in the series. You don't get extra points for being a plus 50 in the series. Like, we've lost 2 games by 3 points.
It's ridiculous.
They all still hurt all the same.
Exactly. They hurt more. That's a Spoonie's
equally
point.
as painful.
Like objectively, like these all signs point to the Celtics clearly be better. To fucking know, but it does not matter because it's tied 2-2.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's tied 2-2, which means we at minimum get 2 more games. And as this series goes, the athleticism and the youth of the boys, it's going to carry us. I'm getting confident again. Let's go.
Me
Come
too.
on.
I'm in, dude.
I love it.
Let's
The
go.
boys.
Look, I have the receipts. I said we'll win 2 and 3, lose 4, win 5 and 6. I even put a bet in Celtics in 6 and a 4-2 Celtics. So I've got the receipts. This is going exactly as I planned. It's just way more painful than I anticipated.
Yeah. See, that's where we differ. I anticipate the pain. I can't plan for it. Like, I can't do anything about it, but I at least know and feel that it's coming, and I'm feeling it right now. I thought that first of all, like, this is a walk away with some confidence loss. I think just based on how much we pressured them and put the clamps on them towards the end of regulation and in overtime as well. Like, we had them shaking in their boots, and like we've already discussed, like, a few things unfortunately didn't bounce our way and we didn't walk away with the win. But it's not a moral victory, but you walk away with some confidence knowing that you have that next level to go to. You went there. Everyone in a Philly jersey, fan or player on the court, coaching staff, were shaking in their boots, worried about the Celtics, who were coming for them, who almost snatched the victory from the jaws of defeat.
Oh, we were so close to snatching the victory from jaws of defeat.
I do think just a couple things on the adjustment side for Philly, having Maxey bring the ball up instead of Harden a lot more to mitigate the full court pickup from Jaylen Brown's perspective. Also, less or even no Jalen McDaniels. It's not Jaden, is it? It's Jalen McDaniels, which gives Rob one less person to help off of. And I think that did a really good job of taking Rob out of the game to some degree, or not allowing Rob to really put his mark on the game in the non-Horford minutes there. Any other adjustments on either sides that you guys noticed?
They were hitting everything. It's not an adjustment. I'm just kind of rattling stuff off here. But like, there was this stretch, like in the third quarter, right? It felt like the comeback was on the way. And I think we ended the fourth quarter down 9 again. Like, the score actually was a +0 in the third quarter.
Yep.
But the surge, Tatum was playing awesome. The surge had begun, but every time the Sixers, like, we got it down to 7 a couple times, or 6, every single time the Sixers hit like this like clutch 3 late shot clock, like Georges Niang. So yeah, your point about fucking Jalen McDaniels being out, their big trade deadline pickup. He apparently can't play in the series. The J stopper. But what's funny is that, like, yeah, I wish that he was playing, and this makes me think maybe they should have subbed him, taking a timeout to sub in Jalen McDaniels, because I don't even know if he's a better defender than anyone else. He comes in cold, makes a mistake. Anyway, but like, Georges Niang has been like clutch in 2 games in a row now, like today. And that's why you have to have him out there, even if he's giving stuff up on the other end. He was 3 for 6 from 3, and he's not scared. Like, he'll just fire, and he hit 3 really big threes. I think, like, for Philly, you have to keep playing him. And if you're the Celtics, the adjustment is like, just don't help off him. Like, that's like the one guy. Like, you got to be comfortable with Harden and Embiid going down there. You have to attack him on the other end. He's kind of held up pretty well offensively, I mean, on the defensive end, but you just have to keep attacking him.
I thought it seemed like in the first half we went with Grant as the primary defender on Embiid when he was out there with Al or Rob, and then in the second half, I'm not even sure how much Grant played. I haven't even looked at the box score after this game.
He played 8 in the first half and ended up with 12 total. So
yeah, so he played 4 minutes, and even when he was out there, I think either Rob or Al was the primary defender on Embiid. So, because Embiid was just shooting over the top of him, which he's gonna do. Like, he had an incredible first half, and it just, yeah, that third quarter was super frustrating. I tweeted it out. Philly started 0 for 7, and then I think somewhere in the middle of the third quarter, they went 12 for 20 after that point from three, 60% from three, and that's gonna keep you. Keep that lead cushioned when it was like, man, you just go into that fourth quarter tied, and then we play that fourth quarter, and that's an easy win.
Yeah, I think, X3 in the chat here and Michael Spitzer, like Al, it's crazy.
So good.
And I know Embiid missed some time, but like the conditioning of Al Horford versus Embiid is not a contest. Like Embiid in the second half was 3 for 12. 5 for 6 from the line, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. Like he was just nowhere to be found. And that's when the surge was happening. Al was immense. I cannot believe that 3 didn't go in, that went around the world, like in the corner. Like how many times has Al Horford made that shot, not just for the Celtics, but specifically against the Sixers. And it was perfect. Tatum made the perfect read again. They collapsed, and it was just wide open in the corner. He's been hitting that shot all year long. And in and out, and that would have put him up fourth like a minute ago. And that just hurts. But he was so good defensively on Embiid. Like, he wore him down. Like, Al hadn't been getting close on these contests. And then all of a sudden, like, he blocked him twice. Like, everybody, like, Rob, I think, blocked him. But Embiid got blocked a bunch of times. And, yeah.
That Al corner three, man.
Yeah,
like it was Dunny roll halfway down, so close, and that would have just shut the game down. But yeah, we can go on all night about all the little opportunities that were blown to put this game away, and there were many of them. Sorry, Spoonie, I did cut you off there.
I was just going to say, Clean Music Lover says we missed an opportunity when Embiid sat at the start of the fourth. Tatum was sitting then too, and Tatum was the offense in the second half. I mean, it was just give it to Tatum, let him blow by somebody, let him get the offense started or finish at the rim. And he just played so. Did he even have a turnover in the second half? One maybe.
Mm-hmm. He was flawless in the second half, except for 2 missed free throws.
Yeah, that's the game right there too. Fuck.
I can't believe he missed those because he was like in that Tatum flow state where you just don't expect him to be missing anything. If I just random decide, if you have to choose one Celtic to hit 2 clutch free throws, who is it?
Him or Smart? Yeah,
I think it's Smart.
Yeah,
Smart is nails in the clutch, dude.
I think it is Smart, but like
I'd pick Smart to hit him like throwing the ball behind his head, like on the free throw line.
Like of course Smart hit it didn't count, like, but of course Smart hit the shot with like the fling up with no time on the clock. Like he's money in those situations. But yeah. I forgot where we were going, sorry.
Well, we're all over the place, which is just fitting for where our minds are at, completely scrambled after a game like this. X3 with a comment in the chat, even though he's more turnover prone, Jaylen Brown needs more touches.
This is a good point.
Quarter. 3 shot attempts in the fourth, Jake. Not enough. What do you think?
Okay, this happens. This is the story with Jaylen. He comes out, he's so confident in the fourth, and I'm sorry, it's not on Joe. It's not on anyone. He's touching the ball. It's not like he's not catching and holding the ball. Does not play at the same level of aggression and force in the second half and the fourth quarter. It just doesn't. Like, there's plenty of opportunities for him to get down there, and he's just not taking advantage. So I think that's completely on Jaylen. Maybe they need to empower him more potentially, but this is a read and react offense. The ball's flying around, and Jaylen's has his opportunities.
Yeah, when these guys are making reads, they're not thinking about like, oh, where's Jaylen? They're thinking about where did that help come from and who is now open, and they don't care who it is. So I think to your point, Jake, like Jaylen has to get himself open. He's got to get better moving off the ball because, we need him. We just absolutely need him. And that start of the fourth, no Embiid, like that could have been Jaylen Brown mini run to get us back to tie game, and then we take it away to end the fourth quarter. But I think we scored 4 points in the first 4 minutes of the fourth quarter, and Philly scored 2. So it's like we were still +2 in those 4 minutes without Embiid and Tatum, but it was ugly.
This is the playoffs. Like, it's just gonna be gross.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just the reality, which is why, like, I know they lost, but you have to love the surge. You have to love the comeback. You have to love what they're able to do because they've won so many playoff games, and then you're not going to win every game. Like these games are really hard to win in Philly. A couple of bounces, obviously, and they win this game, but they were not scared. Like there was not a fear element to this loss. There rarely is. It's more of an execution thing versus like I don't want to shoot the ball. It's so from that perspective, like you have to feel comfortable and confident like as this series goes on. Like I know someone in the chat was like, we need to win 5 and 6. He's going to win in X amount of games. Look, if we've learned anything, man, about the Celtics,
I can't do that, man. We need to win these 2 games.
Is that it's probably going to go 7.
Oh, that hurts.
Yeah.
Just to quickly finish up on the Jaylen Brown point, he said pretty much that in his post-game presser that he just needs to be demanding the ball more down the stretch there and sort of put his hand up to take the blame for that one, which is very much aligned with what you guys were saying. I'm getting from you guys that like you don't necessarily feel as hurt after this loss as, say, for example, Game 5 against Atlanta. Which is really earth-shattering. Like it feels like there's sort of a sense of confidence among the group here that like we're still feeling pretty confident about the rest of the series.
Yeah, I really think that Atlanta thing was just made much worse by what was going on with the Bucks and the Heat.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
And like obviously it would be a disaster if we lost this series. But going down to like Embiid and Harden in the second round, and Embiid and Harden has like, I'm guessing if they win the series, another 40-point like triple double. Like it's just a completely different situation than losing to an Atlanta team in the first round. Just not really comparable. Obviously, this would be a disaster, and I feel like I want to puke even thinking about it. But like, it would be different. And it's 2-2. Like, yeah, I think that was just that those feelings were compounded by what was happening in the Bucks series, and that was like a proper collapse. Like up 12 with like 5 minutes to go. Like that was a proper collapse versus this one was. I don't think this was a choke job at all. Like it was just a couple of like these close clutch games. Balls bounce either way. Obviously, it just hurts because you can like pinpoint like these tiny little moments to get yourself 1 extra point or 2 extra points. But like that's the reality of the playoffs.
Yeah, Tatum contests Tobias Harris too good, so he airballs it right to PJ Tucker for an and one. You know what I mean? Like, that's great defense. We did everything right except get unlucky. So, and Philly is, I know we meme and joke about Philly, and Celtics fans feel like they own the 6. Philly won 54 games. Like they're a legitimately good NBA team. They are not the 41 win Hawks. So there's no shame in this going 6 or 7. And if it goes 7 and you lose on a Harden 50-point bomb where he's unstoppable, it's going to suck really hard. But it's like, I don't think it's indicative of this team's inability to win.
Sure.
It's just really, really going to suck. But if you go and get blown out in game 5 and 6, then I think you're probably looking at trading some people.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Do you think Spoonie Embiid looks healthy-ish? Like, obviously, conditioning is a factor. It's kind of always been a factor throughout his career. Do you think the knee, like, he's moving around all right?
This is kind of how he always looks to me against the Celtics, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do you guys agree?
He looks the same. He looks exactly the same. Yeah, which is annoying.
We'll never know what's
like
actually going on.
Because how we have this like this is what Embiid's doing on one knee, but it's like, well, he doesn't move really anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the difference. Like I would be shocked if he's not wearing down in these games, regardless. You know, yeah, he looks fine to me.
Agreed. So let's wrap up on some individual performances. We'll get to predictions for Game 5. But Jason Tatum, first half, you led with this up the top, Spoonie. First half, not so great. Second half, like GOAT, half of basketball, all-time great. In this game, in a game of this magnitude, a player like Jason Tatum, the best player on the team, you can't have that much of a bed shooting in the first half. And I know you mentioned it was like largely coaching adjustments that actually opened up Tatum's game in the second. He needs to assert himself better. Right off the bat, you know, he needs to be our MVP for us to win this or any playoff series. It was really disappointing to see how he came out in this one, obviously ending quite well. But despite all that, 18 boards, 6 assists, 4 blocks, not even mentioning his points, which I will mention, 24. But just amazing, like while he wasn't scoring in that first half, and they were talking about this on the broadcast, still so impactful, still so effective in like almost all other facets of the game. Thoughts on Jason Tatum, guys? We'll just do it around the room.
I just didn't think he played that bad in the first half. Like he obviously played with a different level of force in the second half and those adjustments. But like in the first half, he was 1 for 9, 9 rebounds, 2 offensive, 2 assists, a steal, 2 blocks, and a single turnover. Like the process was pretty good. He missed like some wide open shots, wide open threes. And we were like a Tatum. He went 1 for 9. We were like a 3 for 9 Tatum, half away from the game being tied, pretty much.
Yeah.
It was like, and that's, of course you want more, but I thought that the process was pretty good, and Philly brought the fight to him and to the Celtics, and they weren't quite ready for it.
I know this is whack, and I know this is lame. He got hacked on a couple of his
did.
drives in the first quarter, and you
does.
could. Yeah, and it got in his head because they didn't get called, and then Embiid was getting everything on the other end, and Jalen picks up 2 cheap fouls, and then Tatum's like, I'm out here getting both my arms pinned behind my back while I'm driving, and there's no call. So, and I think he started pressing a little bit. But yeah, I agree with you, Jake. Like, it was just a function of missing shots. Like when we have the really, really bad Tatum is when he's got like 4 turnovers and a half and he just looks like totally disengaged on both ends. It really wasn't that. I mean, he was maybe, other than Al, our best defensive player this game. I don't know. I mean, he just seemed like he was everywhere on defense. So just a weird half. I think, the physicality got in his head a little bit, and then clearly he just readjusted in the second half and was like, all right, I'm just going to go through people and finish.
He does really bog the offense down. Like, I hate to say it, when he's not fighting to get open, because clearly the directive, and Malcolm Brogdon really struggles with this, the directive is clearly to get the ball to Jason Tatum. Oftentimes it's like a high post, back to the basket, try and receive the ball with a short entry pass. And Brogdon really struggles to get Tatum the ball when he's not like fighting at 110% to get open and to open up a good passing lane. And so when he doesn't do that, even though it's kind of the responsibility of someone else to get him the ball, it makes life so tough on the ball handler. We end up holding the ball for 5-10 seconds trying to find that entry pass lane, and everything just breaks down from there. Often then there's a turnover and the other team gets out in transition. It's just a disaster when he's not fighting as hard as he can, tooth and nail, to get open. So I'd love to see him, fight at 110% effort to begin game 5. Al Horford, guys, we talked about the fourth quarter defense on Joel Embiid. A bit of a blast from the past. Like, we hadn't seen him like lock down Embiid like that in like quite a few years. So really amazing to see the reemergence of that. Jake, what do you think about Al Horford's performance in this one? Obviously amazing.
It's so absurd. 10, 7, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 5 blocks and 0 turnovers, and only 3 fouls when guarding Embiid. Like, how much more can we ask of this guy? And the answer is 1 more 3, please.
That was almost in.
But he was perfect, flawless. Like, he's such a low mistake guy, to quote the great Joe co-host. Like, he just doesn't make mistakes. Like, he's just so solid. He had one fantastic outlet pass as well, which I think led to, I don't even know if it led to a layup, but it was like, it just was an outlet into the paint straight away, always looking up. I can't believe he's outlasting Embiid. Well, I can believe it, but it's crazy that the 37-year-old is outlasting the 29-year-old MVP out there, and we need more. We need him to go again. And I think if anyone, like, if we know anything about Al, he's the chill guy, but he's kind of like a psychopath. And I think that second half is going to like really inspire and encourage Al to feel confident defending Embiid going down into game 5 and into game 6.
Yeah, Al was awesome, dude. I mean, he's just so solid. So, like, this is one of those games where like single game plus minus does not represent how impactful he was, because he was a 0. Mm-hmm. But he was just, where would we be without Al Horford? I mean, I don't know, because like his ability to stretch the floor and pull Embiid out of the paint too is like the reason our offense can function against this Philly team. So just another vintage Al. He did the Antoine wiggle after that dunk, which is like one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
Yeah,
so.
I know.
I wanted him to win so bad.
It was so close to iconic in so many ways.
It's a lost wiggle now, because like we can't look back on it fondly because it led to a loss, unfortunately.
Very reminiscent of Antoine, who wiggled very often.
Yeah, very on brand. Jaylen Brown, like we've talked about kind of ad nauseum at this point, so we won't spend too much time on Jaylen, but 10 for 16 from the floor. The first 3 minutes in the game, I thought he was going to go for 60, and this one, like, he was the offense, and his on-ball defense on the Philly guards continues to be amazing, something that can only be hampered by early foul trouble, which of course, and unfortunately, was a factor in this game. We're just going to run through this list here, guys. So any sort of remaining thoughts on Jaylen Brown, or takes that you haven't been able to rattle off yet?
Just has to be more aggressive. Only one turnover. Again, like, played a pretty clean game, but that was partly because he wasn't handling the ball late. But we needed more of it. Like when Tatum was on the bench in the start of the fourth quarter, and so was Embiid, that's Jaylen time. Has to be. Yep.
I have nothing more to add. No notes.
Yeah, my notes are well and truly run out at this point. It's so hard to like plan for these pods where like obviously there's so much passion involved after a spirited win where you're just like, oh, I've got so much I want to get off my chest, and after a loss you're just like, I don't even really want to do this, and yet here we are. Grant Williams, obviously not as much minutes in this game, and therefore not nearly as impactful. Same with Robert Williams. We talk about him being less of a factor just due to the personnel that Philly had or did not have on the court. Okay. Marcus Smart probably requires a shout out. Sorry, go ahead, Jake.
I was going to say, we could probably use some more Rob.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes.
I saw Trey on Twitter talking about it. It's like the Harden step backs and the drives are killing us. And like, I know Rob's getting killed on, like he got bit on the bump fakes, but he's got heaps. Like, how many fouls did he have today? 2, right? Like, he's not in foul trouble. Like, let's give him a crack out there on Harden. Like, I like that we can switch Rob onto him. I think he can get out into those step backs and really contest them and make them tough. And I think he can really contest Harden on the drives, and that's where Harden's getting us. So I would like to see Rob get more of a chance. But that's also on Rob. He's not impacting the game at a high enough level when he's out there. He's got to be just flying around, getting everything.
I'd like to see him be a little more active off ball offensively too. Like there's spaces he can, but he just sits in the dunker spot with his hand up, like throw me a lob over Joel Embiid. That's not going to happen. No. So like flash to the free throw line, catch the ball there. You don't have to shoot, but the defense is going to be paying attention to a dude with the ball at the free throw line, and then find cutters and stuff like that. And he just seems really checked out offensively. And I think that's probably why he's not playing a lot. Mm-hmm. But there's things he can do, even though he can't shoot, to punish the Philly defense. So be interested to see what he does, because if they went double bigs for a short time, and my recollection was really good defensively, like really, really good.
Yep. Yeah, it'll be interesting to what we see out of that coming into game 5. I was almost getting to Marcus Smart there, who has been incredible in this series, just really setting the table offensively. It's so amazing, like the conversation throughout the regular season of just like, who's our best guard? And now, when our bread's being buttered in the playoffs, it's Marcus Smart setting the table, maestroing the offense, and really, in some ways, anchoring the defense as well, navigating these switches perfectly. You can see him calling out the switches and calling out the coverages when he's dropping back in defense as well. Typical Marcus Smart stuff. Spoonie, what do you think of Smart's impact in this one?
Yeah, I thought this was a fantastic Marcus Smart game. I wish he could have used Time Lord's powers to just go back in time by like a half a second and have won the game for us. But I think one great thing about Smart too is that he's so safe with the ball, unless he gets on tilt once in a while and starts doing crazy shit. But when he's not in that mode and he's playing like he is tonight, like I'm totally comfortable with Marcus Smart getting the ball, with 30 seconds left in a tie game, and I expect he will do the right thing. And yeah, his shooting has been money. I just looked up his stats. He's
playoffs,
shooting,
baby.
Well, he's only shooting 32% from 3 for this series, but
that can't be right.
Yeah, I know, right? He's shooting, but he's averaging 16, 3.5 and 5, and he's like a +5 per game. So he's been great.
4 for 10 today, kind of 5 for 11 in a different multiverse.
Yeah.
So disappointing. I'm not mad. To borrow a line from Chris Forsberg, who just tweeted this out, I'm not mad. I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
Which I think is the vibe walking away from this one. Guys, as we look towards game 5, what adjustments, if any, Spoonie, will start with you, do you anticipate from Missoula and co going into this 5th game?
We're so deep into the series at this point. Like, I'm not sure there's much more you can do, right? Like, we've made the adjustment to put Jalen on Harden. Like, just stop being. He's just like a skosh too aggressive on him and picking up cheap fouls. It's like you're probably not going to pick his handle. Just stay in front of him. Keep your hands up, and if he beats you, okay, he's going to beat you every once in a while. And just be patient and disciplined on his step back, and I think we'll be just fine.
Yeah, I think that's a great call. And almost it's like you want to be aggressive the whole game, and like you just got to save those fouls, right? Because like if you can just not pick up those 2 fouls, you can still be aggressive, but like then you can ramp up the level of aggressiveness in the second half because you haven't picked up those 2 fouls as Harden starts to wear down and really get him off his spot. And it's just this balance of like you don't want to let Harden get in a rhythm, but like balancing that with not picking up the personal fouls. It's all about pace.
Mm-hmm.
All about pace.
Yep.
You have to run these guys off the floor. And that's what was happening in the second half. They were just everywhere. You have to play like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just more of what's been working for us. Like the formula has clearly been laid out. They know what to do. It's just more about having that foot on the gas for, not even 100% of the game, like 75% of the game instead of 50 like it was today. I'd like to think that Malcolm Brogdon is going to sit down and watch a little bit more film and get more up to speed defensively. He definitely seemed to get lost on some switches. There was one play late where like it was kind of a blown coverage from Jaylen Brown and that he sort of helped towards Brogdon's guy. But I think he only did that because he was unsure of Brogdon's competence defensively to make the correct switch. And then Maxey blew by him for a layup there late in the game. But I would still call that Brogdon's fault just due to Jalen's lack of assurance that Brogdon's going to behave accordingly as part of that defensive coverage. So I'd like to think that it's probably a little bit late, like you said, Spoonie. Like I think everything that can be done has been done, but it's not too late for Malcolm Brogdon. He can still pick it up defensively. So maybe a little bit there from Brogsy, as we're calling him now.
Come on, Brogsy.
All right, that is going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be firing up our playback room for Game 5, I think, guys. We haven't talked about it, but I assume like at least 2 of us will be free to do it. What do you think?
Is it Tuesday?
Tuesday night, Wednesday, middle of the day here in Australia. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to try and make it work. I just got this job stuff that happens during the game that I got to try and figure it out. But yeah, I'm going to try and figure it out. Yeah.
I should be good. I'll keep you updated, but
okay, very much. It's in flux. It's a watch this
peek behind the scenes
situation.
here, right?
Yeah, keep a lookout there.
Absolutely. All right. The link, regardless, will be in the description of this episode. And of course, we'll be back with another pod later in the week. Spoonie, Jake, love your work, guys. Until next time, go Celtics.